everyone, and welcome to one more episode of our series called Brazilian True Crimes. Today, we delve into one of the most disturbing, horrific, true crime stories in Brazil. The brutal murder of Liana Friedenbach and Felipe Caffé by Roberto Aparecido Alves Cardoso, but he is also known as Champinha. Actually, everyone knows him as Champinha. Liana Friedenbach, she was 16, and Felipe Silva Caffé, he was 19, were a young couple from São Paulo who decided to spend a weekend camping trip in November 2003. They were looking forward to a peaceful escape from the city, but their trip quickly turned into a nightmare. Unbeknownst to them, they had entered an area known for criminal activity. On November 1st, the couple was approached by a group of men, including Roberto Aparecido Alves Cardoso, infamously known as Champinha, who was only 16 years old at the time. Champinha, along with his accomplices, kidnapped Liana and Felipe at gunpoint. The young couple was taken to a remote area in the Embu-Guaçu region, where they endured unimaginable horrors over the next few days. I think this is one of the most disturbing cases that I've ever heard. They were kidnapped and they stayed, I think about 2 days or like a day and a half, both of them alive, and they would rape Liana in front of Felipe, especially Champinha. Champinha was the mastermind of the group, and he's a known psychopath. On November 2nd, Felipe was brutally murdered by Champinha and his gang. He was shot and left to die in the forest. Liana, however, was kept alive and subjected to days of torture and sexual assault. During her captivity, Liana was forced to write letters to her family, falsely assuring them of her safety. These letters were later used as evidence in the trial. Despite multiple attempts by Liana to escape, she was caught and further brutalized by her captors. She was even taken outside by a lake, if I'm not mistaken, by Champinha, and was forced to pretend she was his girlfriend. And there are witnesses that say they saw them walking around this area. And he even mentioned, I think to his brother, that she was his girlfriend. And people noticed that quite easily because Champinha was, honestly, he was very ugly and she was very beautiful. So they were like, what is going on over here, And she didn't look like someone that was from that area as well. On November 5th, after enduring days of unimaginable suffering, Liana was killed by Champinha. Her body was found shortly after, leading to a nationwide outcry for justice. The brutality of the crime shocked Brazil and highlighted severe flaws in the juvenile justice system. Champinha was arrested and tried as a minor, receiving a maximum sentence of 3 years in a juvenile detention center, which many considered to be an inadequate punishment for such a heinous crime. The case sparked debates and calls for harsher penalties for juveniles involved in serious crimes. Liana and Felipe's families have since become advocates for changes in the law, seeking justice and prevention of similar tragedies in the future. Their efforts have kept the memory of Liana and Felipe alive and have brought attention to the need for reforms in the juvenile justice system. Liana Friedenbach and Felipe Caffé's tragic story serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of young people and the need for vigilance and reform in our justice system. To this day, I just don't know how, but they managed to still keep Champinha in this juvenile prison, which is nothing like a prison. But I'm glad he's still there. I just don't know how did they do it, because juveniles cannot stay longer than 3 years, or depending on the age as well. You cannot stay there over 21 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So I just don't know how he's still kept there, but I'm of course glad. Let us remember Liana and Felipe, not just for the tragedy that befell them, but for the love they shared and the lives they touched. Their story continues to inspire efforts for justice and protection for future generations. Thank you for joining us in this episode. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more Brazilian true crime stories. Be careful, stay safe, and see you in the next episode.